and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we will have Eric Syverson, the chairman of McHenry County Young Republicans, come up. I'm just going to explain a little bit about how the format's going to work for tonight. We're going to start out with 2-minute introductions from each of the candidates. Then we're going to have questions. The first two questions were written by the Young Republicans. After that, we're going to have questions submitted by you guys. Right by the front door here, there's these yellow cards. Just fill them out with your questions, and I'll be standing in the back aisle here. Just bring them to me, and then we'll try to get through as many questions as possible. The opening statements will be 2 minutes. The answers to the rest of the questions will be 1 minute, and then the closing statements will be 2 minutes. For the candidates, to know when you get close to your time, Andrew will be sitting back there. He'll hold up a green piece of paper. That means you have 15 seconds left, and then he has an orange paper when you're out of time. And we will begin with Ms. Schuster, and we will continue down the line. Then the next question will begin with the next candidate coming down the line. So we try and get as many people to answer the question first as possible. The closing statements will begin at the opposite end of the line and work their way back. And I believe that's it. So I'd like to introduce Sarah. She'll be our moderator for tonight, and she'll take it from here.
Okay. We will begin. Sound? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. We will begin with a 2-minute introduction from each candidate. Please tell us who you are and why you are running and in what district, starting with Ursula Schuster.
I'm Ursula Schuster. McHenry County District 6 is the district that I'll be running in. Who am I? I'm a Minnesota farmer's daughter. I went through life farming and moved from that. American Airlines plucked me out of the North Woods. We were farming with horses. We moved right into the jet age. It was kind of an exciting time. It was during that period that I met my husband. We'll be celebrating our 50th anniversary this August or something like that. A little while. We have no children. We raised thoroughbred horses, so we didn't have to worry about college education. But, we raced in Illinois all over the tracks and then went around Arkansas and Florida. We've been here for 40 years. I have my associate's degree from McHenry County College, my bachelor's degree from the National College of Education in Business, and then my master's degree is from National Lewis University. My work experience, I've been in accounting for most of my life, working life. I built 2 businesses, sold one in 1980. I still operate in printing and graphics business today. I had 4 four-year terms, Seneca Township Supervisor, learned all the ins and outs of running and being the CEO. I've served 3 consecutive terms on the McHenry County Board. And why am I running? I love this country. And I know that if I'm going to complain, I have to get in, to roll up my sleeves, get in and work at it and help to keep this country what it was intended to be. Thank you.
If you could just pass the mic down and stay kind of where you're sitting already, so we could just pass it down the line. But please stand.
Thank you. I'm Diane Everton. I'm also running in District 6, serving on the board now. I was a Chicago girl with one other Republican. We finally moved out a few years back, 37 years roughly, and came into McHenry County. I spent time as a child living in California and New Mexico. I have 3 children, all raised, thank God, and gone. The college expenses are over. I ran the gamut of the things that most new moms do and old moms do with the soccer coaching and running kids around. Worked full-time when I was in Chicago as an executive secretary admin assistant. Decided once my kids came along that I wanted to get out of the 9 to 5, be able to spend a little more time with the family. So I went into real estate, which worked out real well as far as flex scheduling went. Allowed me to spend more time with my kids who were gifted students. I got into politics slowly. I've been a Republican precinct committeeman 3 different times in 3 different places. I believe this is my 4th time. Served on the Harvard School Board for 11 years. That's, of course, one of those unpaid jobs that everybody loves you for. I got into candidacy for the McHenry County Board as people in District 6 asked me if I would run because they felt there was a tremendous disconnect with the representation they were getting from the board and felt they were not being heard. As a consequence, I ran, won with their support, and so far it's been going very well. I am self-term limiting, meaning that this would be my 2nd final term.
Thank you.
Thank you. There you go.
My name is Sean Green. I've been a McHenry County resident for a little over 10 years. I'm a former board president for the Board of Education of District 158. Married for over 13 years. We have 2 little girls. District 6 candidate for county board. I am a police officer. I'm a 13-year police officer. I'm a sergeant for a large municipality in Cook County. And like Diane, I used to be a Cook County resident. I grew up on the south side of Chicago. And I know many of you were born and raised in McHenry County, and there are a lot of McHenry County residents who are like me, who came out here to get the heck away from what is going on in Cook County. The reason why I'm running for a county board is to be a voice to make sure that those kind of things don't happen. One of the major ways to do that is to make sure that we keep government limited. Government should be limited at all levels, including at the local county level, and that's what I'll be committed to doing. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rachel Smith. I'm running for County Board District 6. I grew up in McHenry County, lived in Wonder Lake. Gosh, pretty much my whole life. I've been married to a police officer for 10 years now, so I have a sympathetic ear to the trials and tribulations of that difficult job. I got into politics I worked at a health club for 10 years, and speaking to the residents, listening to their concerns. I worked at the front desk, and it was great socializing with people. And one of the people that I worked with ran for county board, and I decided to help her. And she said, I had a great time doing it, and she said, well, if you enjoy this, you should become a precinct committeeman. So then I decided to become a precinct committeeman about 7 years ago. And I helped on local, state, and presidential elections, and went door to door, got signatures for people, found campaign sign locations, and learned. It's been a great learning experience, and I said, I can do this. And now it's a good time for me. I have 2 children that are going to be in school full time, and I can do this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Corey Brockman. I am a District 6 candidate. 3rd generation, born and raised in McHenry County. My grandparents moved out here in '54. I am married, it's been 17 years. I have 3 children. All live obviously here in Maringo as well, in Maringo is where I'm from. I currently sit on the City Council of Marengo. I was a board member on the Marengo Youth and Rescue Squad. I'm very involved in the community, and I would like to get more involved as on a county level. Once again, Corey Brock from District 6. Thanks.
My name is McHenry. This is the first time I'm running for any political office. Some of my background is I was born and raised in Woodstock, lived here most of my entire life. Out of high school, I was in the United States Marine Corps for 4 years. I served as a rifleman, or grunt as a military term. I served at a naval air station in California for about 15 months, and then I was shipped to Hawaii. 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marine Echo Company. We deployed overseas for 6 months. Southeast Asia was our tour. Basically, I was discharged in 1986 with a good conduct medal overseas deployment, and also a meritorious mass, which was awarded to me during a tsunami warning in Hawaii. At that time, back in the 80s, now a lot of people knew what tsunamis were to begin with. But it was a major deal back in Hawaii, having the island actually having to come under that. So a lot of people had to be moved from beaches actually to a higher level. Out of the Marine Corps, I came home. I was in the family construction business for about 9 years. We did sheet metal work, consisted of school walkers, metal shelving, pallet rack. Some of our biggest companies that we worked for was Nordstrom Stores, Valley South Pubs, High-Rise Hotels, multi-million-dollar companies. Pretty much started at the bottom, worked my way up to the vice president of our company. After about 9 years, I returned to MCC, started my schooling there. I went to, and then I became a chiropractor about 8 years later, and I'm running for County Board District 5. Basically, I feel that I bring integrity, responsibility, and fiscal responsibility that's needed. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm David Lemieux, a candidate from County Board District 6, and I'm a farmer, and a conservationist, and a fiscal conservative. I've lived within McHenry County for 49 years, and I, like my parents, have said the time goes very quickly. And I'd always been active in community events, and over the past 25 years, I've volunteered as a director for the McHenry County Soil and Water Conservation District. I served as Marengo Township Planning Commissioner, and I was appointed trustee and was elected president of the McHenry County Conservation District. And the time I spent there was very valuable. I learned a great deal in those positions, and probably the greatest thing I learned was how to work with other people, how to objectively evaluate other people's positions and evaluate them, and sometimes work with very contentious issues and move the agenda forward to develop a consensus to try and have issues that are good, not just for one segment of the county, but for the county as a whole. As I said, I am a farmer, and agriculture has really been my life. And one of the reasons I'm running is because I do have that understanding of agriculture, and in District 6, agriculture is still one of the most viable and significant businesses, and I think my candidacy will help to inform many members of the county board about the importance of agriculture, not just from a business aspect, but also from an environmental standpoint, and how it relates to the county's groundwater recharge capacity. Thank you very much.
Good evening, I'm Mike Scala, I'm District 5. First, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out this evening. I've been a lifelong resident of McHenry County, married to a wife, Carol. She's a high school teacher. I have 2 children, one in high school and one in middle school. I'm self-employed. I own a design engineering and a hardware distribution company with locations in Huntley and Woodstock. Political career, I've been on the District 158 school board for 14 years. Currently president, and vice president, secretary. You know, I got involved with politics because I wanted to make a difference. As Mr. Green pointed out, it's a volunteer position. Decided I'd run for county board mainly because I want to continue volunteering my time to the county that I love. I decided to raise my family here because I believe McHenry County has great values. It has a great community that I live in, which is Huntley. And really, I feel like I can make a difference, not only in my community, but also as county board in a more general sense in our community. I guess one of the things that I value is good decision making. And part of that good decision making is looking at data, looking at the facts, and then working with a group, you know, currently as a school board member, 7 people, but in this case it'd be 24, and looking at how to make the best decision based for the community that we're serving. And also looking at how we can reserve the best for McHenry County for not only the people that are here now, but for the people that will be coming in the future. And that's my reason for running. I want to continue to make a difference, and I want to continue to make things better for the people here. Thank you.
My name is Michael Standard. I'm in the marketing communication business. For most of my adult life, I didn't pay much attention to government. I voted, but I didn't think too much about it. I didn't know a municipal road from a township road or a county road from a federal highway. I was like most people, I suppose. I simply wasn't paying attention. By contrast, those of you here this evening do pay attention. And I want to acknowledge that fact and let you know that I'm pleased to be here tonight to present myself as a candidate for the county board. I may have been more or less asleep in the past, but I'm wide awake now. Historically, the issues in District 6 have been groundwater conservation and the preservation of pristine farmland and open spaces. I'm sure every candidate tonight supports those initiatives. As important as they are, these issues have been abated by the economy. In brief, threatening development has ended, at least for the foreseeable future. I'm concerned with other matters as well, not the least of which is the unwarranted increase in our real estate taxes. This action has been condemned by each of the candidates here tonight, with the exception of one candidate who's not here from District 6, who voted for the increase. In addition, I'm troubled with other aspects of our county government. We have a transportation department that seems hell-bent on forcing its will on the residents of Alden and Fleming Road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now for the 1-minute answers. First, will you support increasing the tax levy? For incumbents, explain your previous votes. Please also say your name and district number you are running for. Starting with Diane Evertson.
Thank you. I voted against an increase in the tax levy. My position has been this is exactly the wrong time for anybody to look at increasing taxes to taxpayers. Unemployment rate is at an almost all-time high. We have taxpayers who are losing jobs, losing hours, having salary cuts. I cannot possibly go along with any kind of increase in the tax levy, which is why I voted against it. Thank you.
You'll all be responding, by the way.
I did not support the board's decision to increase the tax levy. I think it's important to understand what the property tax extension limitation law is all about. It it's understood that from time to time, the tax levy will have to be raised to keep up with the cost of doing business. Now is not the time to do it. The cost cannot be offset by new construction because there is no new construction. We're all at a time right now where every single one of us in this room, if you're a homeowner, is seeing approximately a third of the value of your home decrease. Unfortunately, in the environment that we're in here with no new construction, that means that the slightest bit of a tax levy increase increases your tax. I think the way to go is to go through budget cuts first, and I don't believe that enough of an effort was made to do those budget cuts before raising the levy.
Hi, I'm Rachel Smith, District 6. Raising taxes cannot continue to be an answer. I realized that it was $8 per household approximately, and $8 can help feed my family for a week if I go to Aldi and get a loaf of bread, a gallon of milk, and a dozen eggs. Every penny matters to the taxpayers, and the government needs to learn to live within their means. The budget process needs to start earlier. I mean, not even earlier, it should be a continual process. That way, people's needs can better be met. The tax levy will not be increased. Thank you.
Corey Brockman, District 6. Raising the levy at a time of decreasing, plummeting real estate property values is absolutely ridiculous. I voted against the increase that the city of Marengo put on the residents. I would vote against one at the county level as well. Thanks.
Mike Green, District 5. I think at this time the tax levy should not have passed. I also think that the tax levy should have passed the past 2 years. The people that were on the board that voted against the tax levy at this time, I think you really kind of need to take a look also that those people that voted against the tax levy also voted to increase their pay though. And I think there's kind of a conflict of interest right there because all of a sudden, since it's a election year, all of a sudden we're going to vote against the tax levy now. Unlike the last 2 years that the tax levy was passed by a lot of people. So I think you have to become creative in cutting the budget, which means you don't have to raise the taxes. And that's what I'm here to do, is to help fight the people that are out there that are paying those taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. David Lemieux, candidate, District 6. I was opposed to the increase in tax levy, and that's an easy thing to say when the economy is in the straits it's in. But I also have offered what I believe is a workable alternative to the seemingly automatic increase in the levy, and that would be, I would suggest that the county really consider looking at the differential in the spread between the gross domestic product and the cost of consumer price index. And that spread would reflect the ability of citizens to pay so that it would move. When the economy is doing well, then quite possibly the levy would be at the CPI. When it's doing poorly, it could even be a negative amount. Something for the board members to consider. Thank you.
Mike Scala, District 5. I would have not have supported the tax increase. In our school district, the same question came up whether we should take the CPI increase. And as board president, I led the fact that we kept our levy flat. We did not take the CPI increase. We felt it was extremely important not only to the community in these economic times, but also that our staff and the people that work in our district understand that money is something that doesn't grow on trees, and that there's people that are having a hard time making it from day to day, and we needed to definitely keep that in mind when we were looking at how we spend our money.
Michael Steiner, District 6. We're all in agreement that there was a mistake to raise the tax. I'm in favor of actually reducing the tax. I'd like to see the government get smaller. And the only way for the government to get smaller is to take the money away.
Next question. Are you pro-life? Oh, I'm sorry.
Hold on. Ursula Schuster, District 6. I voted against the levy. I didn't vote against the levy as a toy, a joke. I had been working during the year to make people, the rest of my colleagues, understand the fact that you can't keep approving programs and services and things that you can't afford to pay for. And it just fell on deaf ears. For 3 years, I have been hammering about doing an audit of all the departments to be able to understand where we can start cutting, understanding what all the grants are amounting to, the costs that it's giving us or making for us. And it's finally coming around. Through our strategic planning process, we're going to start looking at exactly that. I don't believe it's right to do this audit in-house. It should be an outside audit to be able to prevent them. Oh dear. Okay, thank you. I voted against the levy.
Are you pro-life, and what about unusual situations, including rape, incest, and the life of the mother?
Sean Green, District 6. I am unabashedly pro-life. Life begins at conception, period. I know that you don't mean any ill will by that question, but I believe that question that is often used by so-called pro-choice individuals is a straw man. First of all, the numbers are incredibly low for children that are conceived through horrible things like that. I always present this argument back to people who make that argument to me. If Mr. Scala and I know Mike, so that's why I'm picking on him. He and I are dangling off the edge of a cliff, and the rope that we're hanging from isn't strong enough to hold the both of us. I push Mike off of that rope. That's murder. I'm saving my own life, but I just ended an innocent life. I believe that life is precious and it begins at conception, and abortion is unacceptable at any level.
Hi, Rachel Smith, District 6. This is a very difficult question. I think it's not exactly a justified question. It's like asking Newt Gingrich what his marital preferences are. But I do have an answer for you because I am not a politician. As long as we're talking about abortion, we might as well talk about God. I search in my heart every day for an answer to this question. And I've been pregnant twice. And the second pregnancy, there were a few complications. My daughter was born healthy. However, I cannot imagine with all of those pregnancy hormones, and I'm sure some of you gentlemen have been around women with pregnancy hormones, having it be a traumatic experience.
Thank you.
For the reason I'm pregnant. I am pro-choice.
Corey Brockman, District 6. I am pro-life in most situations. We get into a little conflict. The mother's health and life obviously are at risk. Is a little bit, there's a situation. But other than that, I am definitely pro-life. I have 3 kids of my own. I can't even begin to imagine, doing that to our own children. So, but yeah, definitely pro-life. Thank you.
Michael Rain, District 5. I am pro-life. I also think that with the issues that you brought up as far as incest and health to the mother, I think some issues might need to be taken a look at. And I think they all kind of have their own little issue as far as that goes. However, I am pro-life. Thank you.
David Review, District 6. First of all, I don't believe that this question is germane to the office.
The county has no ability to handle any implications in this issue. So I'm going to let people guess whether I'm pro-choice or whether I'm pro-life. I refuse to answer any questions like this through surveys that are received from mail, and I will choose to continue to do that tonight. Thank you.
Mike Scala, District 5. I hope I'm never caught on the short rope with Mr. Green. I am pro-life, but I think one of the things that, you know, I have a lot of, I have family members that can't conceive, and the struggle that they go through, you know, the hundreds of thousands of dollars that are spent each year on fertility from people that can't have children. You know, as a community, we adopt children from overseas. Not that they're not, should get a good life too, but we don't do enough in our own community for people that are pregnant because of the things that you mentioned, or even the things that by their choice. And if we can do a better job of educating and giving them the support that they need so that we can do adoption locally for the families that really want children, I think that's what we need to do.
I was raised Roman Catholic. I served Mass until I was 16, 17 years old. My brother studied for the priesthood, and that's the lens that I see my values, that's the lens I see life through. However, I commend you for your position. It really has nothing to do with this office at all. And further, I think the government should keep its nose out of people's private lives.
So Ursula Schuster, District 6. I am unabashedly pro-life. I will work to that end as best I can. And quite honestly, yes, it does have something to do with McHenry County government. Back in the late 1990s, we had a grant that had this little hook in it that didn't allow the county clinics to identify or to call a little girl's parents before she was injected with Depo-Provera. And we took this to the floor of the county board and fought to deconnect from that grant because we didn't feel that it was the right thing to do in McHenry County. I lost my seat over it on the county board in 1990. It's a very passionate issue, and yes, it does affect McHenry County.
Diane Everton, District 6. I am the mother of 3, grandmother of 5, biggest blessing ever.
Would you support the county board continuing to support the McHenry County EDC financially? Starting with Rachel Smith.
I would, Rachel Smith, District 6. I'm not familiar with the acronym for that, so that would be something I would have to research. Thank you.
Corey Brockman, District 6. Yes, I would be in favor of continued support of the EDC, or McHenry County Economic Development Commission. I am, besides the current budget and property taxes, jobs probably are the #1 item out there right now. We need to do everything possible to either retain or bring in additional businesses and jobs. So yeah, I would definitely support it. Thank you.
Mike Green, District 5. I think we do need to still support it at this time. Jobs are definitely a premium right now, especially all over the nation. And with McHenry County being where it is in our state, we have no interstates that actually run through here. So we need to find ways to create jobs. And I think still financially supporting that, I think it, at this time, I think it's warranted. Thank you.
in the new District 6. I think the Economic Development Commission is important when it acts on a regional basis, when it can act as a liaison between the various municipalities of the county. And it would be particularly important for those endeavors involving transportation. Particularly, I think it may be important if there was a commuter rail line established between Elgin and Rockford, Chicago and Rockford, traveling on the Huntley Union Railroad corridor. Thank you.
Mike Scott, District 5. Yes, I am in favor of that. We talk a lot about taxes, and naturally, if we can bring businesses to the not only to the county but to the communities themselves, that's one way that we can lower taxes. Is put it through the businesses that are here. Plus, employment. Illinois still has one of the highest unemployment rates in the country, and we have to get people back to work again. And how do you get people back to work? You create jobs for them through businesses. McHenry County is a great county, but most of the people travel to get to their business. Why? We should have businesses here that people can get a good earning living from. And so yes, I'm very supportive.
Michael Standard, District 6. In theory, this sounds like a good idea. The county board gives them $150,000, $160,000 a year, and they've been operating for 20 years. I'm not impressed. I don't see any specific measurable results. I've been to a lot of meetings, see a lot of reports, but I don't see any specific measurable results. So if they continue to give them money, I think someone should request some results.
Crystal Schuster, District 6. I support economic development, absolutely. County funding it? No. Back in the 90s, this is where history gets a little bit, can get things confused, but it was spun off as a county board committee, given seed money to get started, to launch on its own. And it has been an orphan, shall we say, taking money from the county from the get-go. And that contract that the county had originally signed never did end. They never did launch on their own. They are not responsive. They have not given us really good information. And I have tried very hard to get that money defunded from the county because it is a waste of time. This is a municipal issue, Municipal Economic Development Corporations, and our land use plan supports that.
Diane Evertson, District 6. The Economic Development Corporation has become kind of a pariah on the county, which basically means $600,000 of your money has gone to support the Economic Development Corporation. And again, we have not seen anything coming out of them that indicates that we're getting a good bang for our buck. I would rather see the Economic Development Corporation continue on its own steam. That is to say, if you're going to be a corporation, let's be responsible for your expenses and stop hitting up the taxpayers on an annual basis. Thank you.
Sean Green, District 6. I know you're not supposed to do this in this kind of a format, but I agree with Mr. Standard. It's fine. It's great in theory to be involved in anything that relates to economic development, but if we're throwing money at something that we don't know whether it's working or not, that's bad policy, and it's something that we have to get under control. The best way to develop the economy and to boost businesses and create jobs is to remember that we're government and we don't create jobs and boost the business. That is up to the private sector to do. So we should do whatever we can to help them, but one of the best way to help them is to stay out of their way. I'm fine with continuing the EDC, but it should be at a reduced level of funding from the county, and we do need to hold them accountable, as Mr. Standard said.
Do Do you support reallocating water from areas of plenty, such as the western half, to more heavily developed areas? Also, what about reallocating water out of the county? Starting with Corey Brockman.
Corey Brockman, District 6. We live in District 6. We have our water supply is good at this time, but reallocating it to different areas would be completely against.
Michael Green, District 5. I think reallocating the water that we have in our county, from my understanding that I've talked to people that are with the MCCD and other areas of the water conservation committees and things of that nature, our water is depleting. However, at this time, it seems to be that our water levels are quite fine. We do have to keep monitoring that more than anything, because without water, you really have nothing. You can't live with it, you can't live without it. I should say, you can't live without it, sorry. So I think at this time, I think that we basically just need to monitor exactly what we have right now and make sure that we still have it for the future generations to come.
Reallocation, relocation of groundwater supplies, first of all, would be a very expensive proposition. The wells would have to be drilled, and some pipeline would have to transport that water. That would be a huge burden on the taxpayers of the county. I think a better way to approach the issue would be some type of preservation program that would preserve groundwater recharge capacity on a scattered basis throughout the county. Right now, there is a mechanism established to do that through the agricultural conservation easement program at the county level. Unfortunately, there is no funding for that program right now. It may be a necessity. Sometime that water does have to be reallocated, and if it would, I would suggest that some type of transfer fee utilized to maintain recharge capacity. Thank you.
Mike Scala, District 5. To reallocate, I agree with what you just said. It's very costly. Costly to transport water through pumping it. And all you're doing is depleting where the water's at there that much quicker. Water is a precious resource. Actually, if the county ever ran out of water, we'd have a bunch of dry farmland and people would be moving on. It's something that makes our county what it is today. Is it possible to pull it out of Lake Michigan? Again, currently law, no, but is it possible? Yes. Extremely expensive? Yes. Again, that's not what the taxpayers here are looking for. We need to, I think the county board has done a great job so far being progressive to try to look at how to sustain it, and we need to continue those efforts.
Michael Snyder, District 6. We are never, ever going to be piping water from Lake Michigan. That is not going to ever happen. It's not practical. If you're in California, maybe you bring it from the Colorado River, but it's not going to come ever from Lake Michigan to McHenry County. So, and it's highly unlikely that it's ever going to go into Algonquin. So I think there's people that are vigilant, that have their finger on this, and then it's going to be protected by the people that are guarding that for us. So I think it's not a major issue. It's well attended to.
Ursula Schuster, District 6. Oh boy. The reality is that we have municipalities that are growing and demanding water as one of their services to provide to their community. We already have Algonquin Township that is water poor, shall we say. They're taking more out of the ground than what their area can recharge. In fact, it's bad. And we've known this for some time. And there are other townships that are going to be in the same situation very shortly. We have a group in McHenry County on the board members who have been meeting with four other counties trying to figure out what to do, and all they've come back with, for the most part, is rain barrels and, every other day, water turning off. Doesn't work.
Diane Everson, District 6, number 1. You're right, we are not going to be getting Lake Michigan water, primarily because there's an international treaty with Canada that limits how much water can be taken from Lake Michigan. So even though we do have people within the county who are newly placed here believing that they're getting Lake Michigan water, it is not true, and it's not going to happen because we simply are not allowed to do it. As far as reallocation from our District 6 area, say, to the Algonquin area because of their building boom, I really don't see that penalizing people in District 6 to take care of irresponsible building in the Algonquin area is the way to solve the problem. I think we have to look at people being responsible for their usage and their recharge areas. Thank you.
Sean Green, District 6. I am in an unincorporated, just outside of Union. I have my own well. The way that I look at this is similar to what Diane just said. If my neighbor wants to build a bunch of outbuildings and consume an unbelievable amount of water, it's not fair to me to have to start pumping from my well over to them because they were irresponsible about how they grew. Responsible growth is the key here, I think, and I think that the county and the municipalities have finally seen the light with that and have done a good job of being proactive with it. Specific to the questions that you asked, transferring water from one part of the county to the other, first of all, I leave all this up to the experts. Off the top of my head, I would say probably not. Transporting water to outside of the county, definitely not. Thank you.
Rachel Smith, District 6. No, I do not support getting water from other areas. I don't think we'll get it from Lake Michigan. It wouldn't be feasible. I believe there was some irresponsible growth, which is why we are in the predicament that we're in. And I think the cooperation between municipalities and the county throughout I think it's the 2040 plan that's being developed now, is good. And we just need to hold the line at our growth, protect our wetlands, and as far as rain barrels being a solution, I believe it is a start. Rain barrels, the MCC has a rain garden. I think prairies and wetlands all should be protected, and that is a good place to start. Thank you.
Do you think a person convicted of a crime should be able to hold any elected or appointed public office? Should county board members be required to comply with Illinois ethics rules, starting with Michael Rain?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Do you think a person convicted of a crime should be able to hold any elected or appointed public office? Should county board members be required to comply with Illinois ethics rules?
First and foremost, yes, county board members should have to comply with Illinois ethics rules. That's what they're there and designed to do, is to make sure that you do have ethics and that you follow those rules. And as far as a crime, I'm not sure what kind of a crime you mean, as far as a speeding ticket or a felony. But if they are convicted of a felony, that's what I'm assuming, is that if they are convicted of a felony, no, I don't think they should be able to hold office. Thank you.
David McHugh, District 6. I have to agree with Mr. Rain. Obviously, the county board members should uphold the Illinois ethics of governance. And again, with the crime issue, I'm not sure what the crime is. Assuming it's a felony, no, they shouldn't be allowed to. If it's something more of a misdemeanor type, I think that's probably cautionary note. Thank you.
Mike Scala, District 5. I agree, same thing, felony, no, if it's a misdemeanor, probably yes. Again, the voting public should know about that, and then they can make a decision based on what that crime is. Personally, as far as the ethics from the state of Illinois, I would hope that we could hold ourselves to a little higher standard than what some of our legislature does. So, you know, I think that's a minimal standard, I guess, would be my viewpoint. And I think we as a county have higher standards than that. We should be holding our public officials to a higher standard.
This is kind of a conundrum in a way. Our system of laws are that if you're convicted of a crime and you serve your sentence, theoretically, you're clean, theoretically. However, it's not that simple. Now, if this is a current event question with regard to what's going in front of the board now, I have in my business, in my design business, I have a theory, or I have a saying. I say, when in doubt, leave it out. Thank you.
Rachel Schuster, District 6. Yeah, if you're referring to the issue that we're going to be dealing with, I would have to say I would not support the appointment, and it should not happen. As far as the ethics ordinance is concerned, that is a requirement. It's not a choice. We have to do it. And with the my management services committee, I found that the county had put their ethics ordinance into place, but never enforced it. And by law, they are supposed to require every employee and county official to read, to understand, and to sign off on it. So we now have that in place. We redid the ordinance, and we will now start this year to make sure that everybody signs off on it. It is a requirement.
Diane Everson, District 6. I own a 2-unit apartment building, and I will assure you, I won't rent to tenants who cannot pass a criminal background check. And I believe that as an elected official, I should at least meet those same standards. As far as ethics within the county goes, I think we have come in the last 2 years quite a distance from where we were. I think also it says a lot for certain members of the county board who have worked very diligently to get those ethics measures passed. Some transparency in government, which has been terribly lacking and caused a disconnect with a lot of the voters thus far. So ethics, yes, I'm all for it. We ought to at least pass on those.
Sean Green, District 6. As others have mentioned, I think we should probably set our bar a little bit higher than the state of Illinois, but as far as the individuals being convicted of crimes, I'm a sergeant now. I don't really get my hands dirty like I used to when I was younger, but in my career I've arrested hundreds of people. There have been some just horrible people involved there. There have been some that are kids, that they're great kids, and they just got mixed up in a bad situation. So, you know, I know we're talking about convictions, so if you're talking about Cook County, if someone gets convicted of a crime in Cook County, it's a good chance that they're not a very good person. Out here, this standard is a little bit different. I would say it would have to, full disclosure is the key. People need to know what the person's background is. If they got arrested and convicted of shoplifting when they were 17 years old, it's a lot different than 2 years before they run for that office, they get convicted of domestic battery or something like that. Each individual case should be taken into consideration.
Hi, Rachel Smith, District 6. I believe that a person convicted of a crime should not be able to hold public office. I think the morality of the person and disclosure of the person is an issue. And as far as ethics go, I believe ethics only makes things easier for all of us. It makes the people who are running, it makes things more clear for those who are running and those who are voting. Thank you.
Corey Brockman, District 6. I've never been convicted of a crime, but I've made plenty of mistakes in my life. And I do think that people, you know, they do serve their time and they have changed. I don't think it should be just a blatant no, you cannot run for post office. As far as ethics go, obviously, yes. I mean, you know, there should be, there are ethics forms that have to be filled out, and I would agree with some of the other remarks that, you know, the state of Illinois probably isn't the bar.
What is the first thing you would like to see cut from the budget? Also, what are 3 major threats facing the county and how will you overcome them? Starting with David Lagu.
Only one thing you want to cut from the budget? I think that's a question that would be very difficult for me to answer without doing a thorough review of the budget. I'm sure there are areas that can be looked at very closely, and I suggest that each department would do a review of their budget, doing a 10% plus, 10% minus. It would identify areas that are potentially excesses, and also there may be some very real needs. 3 things in this county. One is groundwater. The second is probably transportation. And the third, I think, is a trust that a lot of the citizens, I believe, have lost in county government and elected officials. Thank you.
Mike Scallon, District 5. I'll do the 3 things first. First, I would say would be taxes. Looking at how we can make the taxes lower here in the county. Second, I agree, is transportation, looking at our infrastructure, which we're having a lot of difficulties with. And third is job growth, job creation in our county. Regarding what would I cut first, at the school district we use a zero-based budgeting process. And that basically looks at each area that uses money basically has to justify $1 at the beginning of every year. And if by that approach, you're basically asking them, you just don't automatically get the same amount you got last year. You may not need that, and so I agree, you can't just take a dart and say this is the one item. You have to start from the very beginning to look at each dollar that's spent at each committee level and in each area, and then look and see how it's being spent and how it can be spent better.
Michael Standard, District 6. I'm in favor of reducing the size of the government. If you or I had a 13-year-old child and you were paying a $20 allowance to your 13-year-old and you told her or her you were going to cut it back by 5%, even they know they could get by at $19. So I'm in favor of pulling the county board budget back across the board by 5%. Because even a 13-year-old knows that you can get by on 5% less with a little belt tightening. No wholesale cuts, just everybody tighten their belts. The county board spends $24 million a month, $695,000 a day. A 5% reduction would save the county $13 million a year, every year. So I'm in favor of reducing the allowance by 5%.
Thank you.
Versus Schuster, District 6, I would say water is a top priority. Taxes and protection of our food-producing farmland, and economic development that doesn't pay its way. That's a dirty little secret that nobody wants to admit. We pay a lot to support a lot of this development. As far as cutting something with the county, we have a little thing called McRide that launched here in February 1st, and it's those little buses, little pace buses you see running around the east side of the county. That's $1.6 million this year alone that the county is picking up. And this is basically for municipal services, not county services. That's, to me, is greatly disappointing to see that that's continuing.
Thank you, Diane Everson, District 6. As I sit at the county board, my main concern thus far, as it was when I started, was the credibility problem the county has between the county and the voters. There's a very distinct cutoff where the voters don't believe what they're being told, and there is a very good reason for it. One of the other problems we have, of course, is the water supply. We have areas that want to have more growth, bigger is better kind of philosophy, which really doesn't pan out. Bigger is not better. The other issue we have, of course, is increasing taxes, where your government representatives seem to feel that you are a never-ending resource, and they are more than willing to capitalize on it. As far as one of the expenses I would cut immediately would be the lobbyists we pay for. Above and beyond the EDC, we have a lobbyist to lobby for us in DC. Funny, I thought that was our representative in Washington.
Sean Green, District 6. My top 3 concerns to be on the lookout for the future. Number 1 is responsible growth, preserving the groundwater supplies, open spaces, farmland, things like that. 2 would be the budget itself. Make sure that we don't end up the way counties to our east and southeast have become. And 3 is transparency. We must, as others have mentioned, we have to be credible to the voters and the constituents of the county. Again, to bring up Cook County, nobody trusts Cook County government. People become disinterested in Cook County government. Therefore, they even have more of a blank check to do what they want. We can't get there. Diane stole my thunder. There's many things that I would suggest cutting from the budget. Number 1 would be the lobbyists. It's only about $80,000 a year. It's the most absurd $80,000 a year that gets spent. I personally have a good relationship with some of our state reps, congressmen, state senators. I know others here do, others on the board do. Let's utilize those resources that we have before we spend $80,000 on somebody else doing our work for us.
Rachel Smith, County Board, District 6. I would be in favor for cutting the budget. I think Jack Franks is on the right track. He wants to reduce the size of the county board and leave it up to the voters. And I think, unlike the board currently, the voters may surprise the board and be willing to reduce the size of the government. 3 most important things to me would be transportation. I would like to see ride-share programs, ride vouchers. I know those things aren't the easiest to come by, but I think right now, instead of paying for a Vetra system, that would be a simpler thing. Transparency. I'd like to see our board members have a Facebook page, so you know when and where they're going and what they're voting on, and it's open to the public. And voter education. I would like the board members to be able to educate the public best. Thank you.
Corey Brockman, District 6. Of the top 3 issues, I think number 1 is the property tax situation. Number 2, I mean, we just need to get that under control. Number 2, I believe protecting and preserving our groundwater supply. And number 3, that would be number 3. Number 2 would be job creation, job growth, along with that goes transportation issues. The thing that I would like to see cut, I agree with the lobbyists. Yes, I think we need to utilize the state reps, the federal reps, and so on much better. So thank you.
Michael Rain, District 5. Top 3 main things that I'm concerned about right away is taxes in the budget right away. I think they kind of go hand in hand. The other thing is infrastructure. I think you need a good infrastructure for any place to have manufacturing, jobs creation, things of that nature. The other is the water conservation. I think the county board has done a good job at starting this process, and I think we need to continue being very conservative with our groundwater. The one thing that I would automatically would like to see taken away or decreased as far as is healthcare for the families of the county board. I don't think that is a part-time position, and I think that you have people that, with the healthcare, it's very, very expensive. You have 24 board members, 21 of them will take healthcare with it, and I think you could cut that right away and probably save you quite a bit of money. Thank you.
How do you feel about the recent controversial issues within the Transportation Committee, including but not limited to Fleming Road? Starting with Mike Scala.
Well, they're working on a 2040 plan right now for the infrastructure. And if you look at our roads and the bridges that we have in the county, we have a lot that are failing or are not supporting the transportation needs that we have. When you look at all of our roads and all of our infrastructure needs, there has to be a certain amount of money that's set in the budget each year to take care of those needs. You have to create a matrix, look at what the needs are, how bad are they, and what can be done about them as far as a long-term and a short-term fix. And once you have that matrix, you can look at how much money needs to be set aside. You know, county government only has a certain amount of money, but we need to allocate that properly so that our county can continue to be viable.
Would you repeat that?
How do you feel about the recent controversial issues within the Transportation Committee, including but not limited to Fleming Road?
I really can't speak to what is going on in the committee because I'm not aware of that, but I have something to say about Alden and the Fleming Road issue. There's a bridge has been closed recently, and for some reason the county Department of Transportation seems to want to fix things that aren't broken over top of outrage on the part of the citizens. And so don't they get the point? Is government gone mad? So that's what I think about that. I think they should fix what needs to be fixed and leave things, well, that are fine, leave them alone.
Chester District 6. I think it's inexcusable, the process that we've gone through and the lack of, should we say, true willingness on the part of the Transportation Department to listen to the public and what they want for their communities. And as far as whether it's Fleming or Alden roads, to go out in the western part of McHenry County and build up to what would amount to freeways, 4-lane highway footprints. There's a big problem because that's not what the community wants. And as a county, I think we have to start listening. The only way we're going to do that is to bring board members on who actually care about the public and will listen to them. I don't for 1 minute think that there isn't some master plan that someone is concocting that will keep these issues in the forefront or maybe in the background, and we'll have to listen to that.
Diane Everton, District 6. I'm really familiar with Alden Road and Fleming Road. One of the issues that I've stressed all along is a lack of credibility, and of course the Transportation Department is one of the worst offenders. We have a scenario here, and millions of dollars, you understand, in government just roll off the tongue nicely. Alden Road repairs were going to be $27 million. Thank you very much. Fleming Road was in the area of $5 million or some such. Doesn't matter, it's all coming out of your pocket anyhow, and it's a renewable resource. What we have is a situation where we as McHenry County residents move to our homes for a particular reason. We appreciate where we live, we like the country atmosphere, we like the lifestyle, and we have engineers who feel their wishes supersede our own.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sean Green, District 6. We have to listen to the voters. We, as trustees of the county board certainly is responsible for making the tough decisions. But when there's so much outcry from the citizens against something that the board wants to do, it should take much less time than it just did with this last situation to listen. A road that I traveled, and again I bring up Cook County as an example of how not to do things. Bartlett Road, I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, in the Hoffman State Schaumburg area. It's great for me because I drive the thing every day to work, but it's a 4-lane highway going through a forest reserve, and I'm usually the only car on the road. Like I said, it's great for me for selfish reasons, but that was an awful lot of money that got spent that the Cook County taxpayers were on the hook for, and it didn't really seem necessary. We could go along those same lines again in McHenry County if we're not more careful and if we don't listen to what our constituents have to say. That is the basic key to that is what the voters want. The roads belong to them. Let's do what they want.
Rachel Smith, County Board District 6. I'm very proud of the residents of Fleming Road. I travel down it frequently, and I was made aware of many of the issues. I received an email from one of the chair people of Fleming Road, and I think it's great. The residents spoke, and the county is now beginning to listen, and I don't think they should change a thing on Fleming Road. Thank you.
Corey Brockman, District 6. My family owns a business out in the Marengo area, and one of the roads that abuts it is a county road. And the county transportation division was impossible, absolutely 100% impossible. We would rather be on the other part of the property is along a state highway. The IDOT, I would work with them all day long before the McHenry County Division of Transportation. It's one of the issues that is hindering any kind of business growth or any kind of situation in the county, any job creation, and listening to the public as well. So the McHenry County Division of Transportation has gotten a lot of issues that need to get taken care of. As you went up to the city of Harvard, met with the mayor, he did the same exact thing. He's got issues, those biggest issues are with the McHenry County Division of Transportation. Thank you.
Michael Reed, District 5. When I talk about infrastructure, the infrastructure that I'm talking about is the Illinois roads that need to be dealt with mostly. And that we have to, as a board, have to work with the state and get them to listen to us, just like people on Fleming Road stood up and got the county board members to listen to them. I don't think that Fleming Road should be touched as far as increasing the footprint in any way, shape, or form. I think we need to fix the roads that need to be fixed, but with the same footprint in our county areas. Thank you.
David Hugh, District 6. It is very glamorous on the part of engineers to build new roads and can be enticing for some county board members as well. But really, expanding roads that are lightly traveled is just simply a poor investment for the citizens of McHenry County. I certainly believe that Alden and Fleming Road should remain in their original footprint. They are in need of repairs, but you fix things. There's other things that need to be repaired, and we always try to fix things adequately and as cheaply as possible. Multiple lanes, turning lanes, really seem to be an excess in these areas. Thank you.
How do you feel about the current process of selecting a chairman? How about term limits for chairman? Starting with Michael Stannard.
I support term limits at every level of government without reservation.
Ursula Schuster, District 6. We worked on this with the Management Services and Law and Justice Committee and the County Board. And in the end, I started out thinking that, well, term limits, the County Board Chairman election was another point that was factored into this. And I started out thinking that it might be a good idea to elect the chairman at large. Once we got into it, it is another power struggle that begins. So there are many things. Term limits, yes, we try very hard to get the rest of the board members to think that the county board chairman that we elect on a 2-year basis should only have 2 2-year terms. Same with the vice chairman. And I think also the committee chairs. The majority of the board didn't go along with that. But I'm not going to give up. That's something I'll continue to work for.
Diane Everton, District 6. As I said before, I self-limit my terms. Would be the second one if I'm elected again, and that would be the last one. As far as other politicians, I think we have to encourage the voters to believe that they in fact do have the power to limit the terms of those other elected officials. If you think you've had enough of them, vote for somebody else. As far as chairman of the board, I think as representatives of the voters of McHenry County, you represent your representative to the county board, or you elect your representative, I should say, and your representative has a feel for who they can work for and in what regard at the county board level. And I think you should feel pretty comfortable about who they elect without you having to go into more research to figure out who you want to be there. So I think thus far it's worked for me.
Sean Green, District 6. I'm in favor of a ballot question, a referendum for the voters of the county to give clear direction on whether or not they want the chairman to stay the same way it is, voted on by the other board members, or voted by the entire county voters at large. I don't think it's by doing that is a foolproof solution to reducing the politics involved. All you have to do is look at the sheriff's office to understand that voting for a person countywide doesn't necessarily mean there's not going to be significant politics involved. As far as term limits, I personally agree with Diane. The voters need to be informed and vote people out that need to get voted out. I imposed a term limit on myself for the school district when I was with District 158 of 1 term. I was dragged kicking and screaming to run for a second term. I only did it for a year when we found a suitable replacement. I stepped down. I plan on running 2 terms maximum for county board.
Rachel Smith, District 6. My views on electing the chairman. Yes, I think it should be left up for a referendum ballot. I don't think it would be as costly as some claim. No one on the board, I feel, would be impartial if the chair was elected by the public. However, I do realize the possible special interest groups that could fund that campaign for the chairman, but that's where our great ethics come into play. Thank you.
Corey Brockton, District 6. I do believe that the chair needs to be elected at large, if that's what the people want. So, putting it on as a referendum, I don't know how we can possibly go wrong if that's what the people vote for. So, yeah, that's a very powerful position, and I just think that the people need to have more say in what goes on in that spot. What was the other question?
Term limits.
Yeah, well, I believe that, every county board member, normally every 4 years, there's a term. I mean, and somebody can be elected. I mean, it is difficult to get the incumbent out. I believe that is the case. So I would support it.
McHenry, District 5. I do support term limits. I support term limits for the chairperson. I think the chairperson should be elected by the board. They're the ones that have the feel for who is going to be there and who they can work with. If the chairperson is elected outside, you are now officially creating another entity of government. And then along with that, as far as what I'm understanding, as far as reading in the paper, is that you can vote for the chairperson and you can also vote for a county board member. It shouldn't be that way. It's one vote, one person, that's it. So I feel that term limits, yes, and also the chairperson should be elected by the constituents of the county board. Thank you.
David View, District 6. I firmly believe in term limits for the chairperson of the county board. Having those limits tends to introduce new ideas with a new person. It also will help to avoid some of the cronyism that can be associated with that position. We could ask the voters if they wanted to elect the chairperson at large. That does not necessarily guarantee that the chairperson will be there for a long period of time. I think the duration of position in the office is the key, not whether that person is elected by the county board or by the public at large. We must also remember if the person is elected by the community at large, we very well could have a Republican and Democratic head-to-head competition, something that doesn't exist right now. Thank you.
Mike Scala, District 5. I am in favor of term limits. I am not in favor of having the chairperson be elected at large. Great example of how that doesn't work, Stroger. One name, 40 plus years in office. The problem with that whole concept is that you now have one person that has a lot of power, veto power at that, depending on how it's structured. And you have one person that can create, let's put it this way, a lot of friends and get a lot of money to continue getting elected and reelected and reelected. The way the process is right now, that person, just like the rest of us up here, have to be elected by you, the people. And then not only that, but then there's 24 of them that they have to be the best of in order to be the chairperson. I think that's going to, ultimately be better for our county than an at-large election.
Why should incorporated residents be forced to pay for unincorporated police services? Starting with Ursula Schuster.
Would you repeat that?
Yes. Why should incorporated residents be forced to pay for unincorporated police services?
The McHenry County Sheriff's Department oversees the entire county. Normally, they come into municipalities in emergency situations. So there are agencies, departments in the county that every resident of the county does pay for those reasons. And I have a problem with some of this. It's a really detailed question that I'd love to get into, but it is a service that every member of the county does pay for and does get service for.
Diane Erickson, District 6. I think when we look at departments like the Sheriff's Department, Police Protection, we look at scenarios where there is training involved that the Sheriff's Police are able to take advantage of, equipment that they will use that can be used in other municipalities as well. So, it's not really as though you're paying twice for the same service. You're paying for an additional service that most municipalities would not be able to afford.
Sean Green, District 6. I am a police sergeant. I have that background. I do understand the theory behind that question. It's a similar thing to the public school system. For the last 10 plus years, I've lived in McHenry County, paid taxes to the local school district, and don't have kids that go to school there yet. They have little girls, they're not there yet. But I understand the benefit goes along with that. Similar with the police service, yes, the local municipalities do receive services from the sheriff's department. I live in unincorporated. I would have no problem with paying an extra service fee for police services to offset some of the costs from the local municipalities. But as Diane mentioned, there's resources that the sheriff's office has that the local departments don't have. Canine, bomb squad, hazmat, all kinds of things like that have to be factored into that. I would not have a problem with those of us like myself who live in unincorporated paying a little extra.
Rachel Smith, District 6. I believe residents in unincorporated areas should pay for additional police services because, as Sean brought up a good point, it's a tiered effect. What your municipality could not accomplish, your county may, or your state may be able to. The county will pass on what they can handle to the state. The municipality will pass on what they can handle to the county. So I see no problem with paying them extra. Thank you.
Corey Brockman, District 6 again. I am a city of Marengo alderman, and we obviously have a police force. There are times when there are only 2 officers on, and we use the county the resources, the sheriff's department on a regular basis to help in that, in those types of situations. There's also the drug task force and different things that as a city you can absolutely cannot pay for. So they're not. You look at it, I don't believe they're getting double taxed. I mean, they're utilizing the services just as much as a county resident as well, or an unincorporated resident. Thank you.
Michael Reed, District 5. I basically think that I don't think that I would think that everybody in the county pays for those services, just like Ursula says. I think that working with the municipalities, sheriff's departments kind of works hand in hand. So I don't think that raising the service fee for unincorporated areas is necessary. Thank you.
David Gibb, District 6. The fees that are taxes that people within municipalities pay towards the common sheriff's department, I don't really view as a double taxation of paying for something we don't need. There are some many cooperative agreements between the police departments and the sheriff's department that I really don't believe this is an issue. And one point I would like to make is I think everyone who lives within the municipality also travels outside of that municipality, travels throughout the county, and has a need for police protection, police services within the whole county. Thank you.
Mike Scala, District 5. A lot of good points were already brought up, which I agree with. There's a lot of services that the county provides that municipalities couldn't afford if they tried to. And I know they work very well together to respond to crisis situations that go on in our county. Naturally, one of the reasons why we all live here is it's a safe environment. We want to keep it that way. And without all the different aspects and levels of police protection, we may not have that luxury of having a safe environment where we can raise our families and live.
Michael Snyder, District 6. When I was the president of the village of Greenwood, we had no police at all. And so we were thankful to have the sheriff's department there to cover our needs and emergencies. Now, I must say, I'm not a fan of the sheriff, make no mistake about that. However, I believe the structure as it is now in place is the best thing to do.
The county board is considering the potential for wind farms. What will you do to make sure people are kept informed and treated fairly during this process? Starting with Diane Evertson.
How appropriate. I spent a great deal of time with the task force working on wind farms. One of the things we want to be aware of from the get-go is the state has already put laws in place determining what can happen with wind farms to a very large degree. So McHenry County's task force basically is looking at the size and structure. The basic farm windmill would basically be unaffected. That's fine. And what we're looking at, in fact, is another revenue stream for the county to be able to get taxes. So you'd be charged for a permit for a wind turbine, and there with the permit comes another fee for you as the one who owns it. But it would be difficult to get a hold of me to find out if you're interested.
Sean Green, District 6, I think as far as individual property owners go, if people want to put up a wind turbine on their property, basic safety standards and things like that have to be considered. As far as power companies generating power for the county and local municipalities, beyond the codes that are in place, state and countywide, county needs to stay out of it. It's a private sector thing. The county is not in the position, or should not be in the position of being energy contractors. So I think outside of the basic safety and code regulation issues, it's an individual property owner and an individual business's thing to handle.
Rachel Smith, District 6. For the potential for wind farms, I would have to say on a larger scale, I would want to meet with each of the farmers and the residents that would have to look at this wind farm. On a personal level, this is something I think is a great idea. Aside, I would like to see the county get out of the way with the permits, the fees, the regulations. They're not these great big wind farms anymore. You can buy them to put on your roof, and they're not much bigger than your chimney. And it would help out each individual home. Thank you.
Corey Brockman, District 6. I think with a large scale wind farm, you're going to run into NIMBYism, and there's going to be some issues. So it's going to have to be placed in appropriate locations. There's going to be people out there that don't want to live next to a wind farm. So they would have to be placed in the correct locations. Obviously, though, the financial aspect of it, I mean, they're creating green energy, which is a good thing, and create jobs and would create multitude of things. So I would be in favor of them, just located in a proper location.
Michael Reed, District 5. As far as wind farms go, I don't think the citizens of McHenry County would like to see wind farms all over spread west of 47. I've seen them down throughout the state. They are on a big scale stuff. And I think bringing those here, I don't think that it is the right thing to do. And I don't think the residents of McHenry County want to go out and see these huge wind farms. As far as an individual basis, as far as your home and things of that nature, I'm all for that. I think that if you can save energy by doing that at your individual home, yes, you have to follow the laws, and you have to apply for the fees, and you have to follow what has to be done. But as far as large wind farm scales, no, I'm not in favor of that. Thank you.
David McHugh, District 6. I think I would have to agree that the regulation of wind farms should really be confined to safety issues. We need to be very proactive, looking towards the future. We know our fossil fuel supplies have a finite limit. We may not know exactly where that is, but we need to be aware of that. And wind farms offer an opportunity for job creation and also a very clean source of energy that we all all use each type of lights that are on here. Some people may find them unsightly, but sometimes you find cell towers pretty unsightly as well. So we need to consider what's best for the entire community, and I would be in favor of expansion and exploration of wind farms within McHenry County. Thank you.
Mike Scott, District 5. I am definitely in favor of green energy, whether it's a geothermal or wind farms. You know, United States of America relies too much on foreign countries for their energy needs. God gave us a beautiful thing called the wind, and if we can take advantage of it, then we should. And so I'm in favor of it. I agree. The safety factor isn't too much of a concern, but I do think zoning requirements for that are important. I wouldn't want my neighbor, I live in the town of Huntley, I live in town, I wouldn't want my neighbor to put up a 150-foot wind generator in his backyard unless I was getting free electricity off of it. So I think there's a right place for it, but I think there's definitely a need for it.
Michael Standard, District 6. I grew up in LaSalle, Peru, and Mendoza is just north of that, and there's a large wind farm there. And then I've traveled through the Joshua Tree area, and there's a really big wind farm there. And frankly, I think they're majestic. And the notion of, I hate to use the word green, I guess green is the word, but we need to address these fundamental issues for our planet. So I'm in favor of developing these, but I also agree that we should be very thoughtful where they're placed. They will generate income, jobs, and they'll generate income for the property owners. And at the end of the day, I think it's something we have little choice about. Thank you.
Ursula Schuster, District 6. I would not be in favor of wind farms as we see them throughout the western part of the state. Like Mr. Scala, I don't particularly like to see them in somebody's backyard, and I know the backyard is going to be District 6 because it's not going to go into the municipalities, but they will get the benefit of it. The county's role is to regulate. I believe individuals should have the right to have wind power if they choose to, but they also have to take into account their neighbors, because that's probably one of the most difficult parts that we play as county board members, is dealing with the neighbors to those neighbors who decide that they want to do something that doesn't really fit in the area, in the farm community. Thank you.
What will you do to protect hunting and firearms rights of the citizens? Consider activities such as target shooting on your own land and hunting on public land. Starting with Sean Green.
This is very much along with the rest of my philosophy. We stay out of the individual's rights. Obviously, like Mr. Scala mentioned, if you're talking about living in town on a 9,600 square foot lot, you don't want somebody shooting off at AR-15. But beyond basic safety regulations, we should be staying out of it. And that's really what it all comes down to, is true safety regulations, not pseudo-safety regulations where you come up with things like our former Surgeon General Jocelyn Elders coming up with the idea of safer bullets. I'm talking about true safety regulations as far as zoning and things like that. Other than that, people's right to use their firearms and be sportsmen and fishermen and things like that, we shouldn't get in the way of it.
Rachel Smith, District 6. I support the concealed carry law. I think with proper background checks and education, it should be every person's right to carry a concealed weapon. As far as on your property, I believe proper acreage zoning laws would apply. I wouldn't want it in my backyard, of course. And that's it. Thank you.
For Rockland District 6, obviously, I'm a strong proponent of the right to bear arms. And most people that legally bear arms are actually very responsible. They do realize, I mean, most of them do. The hunters, the fishermen, those type of people. Well, you're not going to fish. But anyway, you're outdoors. They tend to be pretty responsible when it comes to them, actually. And, they would use common sense in most cases anyway. But obviously, just, a large property would be needed.
Michael Green, District 5. I think that the current laws that are on the books right now as far as firearms is for those right now. As far as putting up ranges and things of that nature, there are laws as far as that goes, as far as putting up ranges. Obviously, if you're putting up a firing range, you don't want the burn to be facing somebody's house because things can go astray. So there are laws that are already in place for that. I think we need to abide by those, and I think that's it.
Obviously, firearms are inherently dangerous, but I think the public in large has shown a great deal of responsibility. The county should be concerned about safety issues, and I think those are the common sense issues. As far as hunting on public lands, McHenry County Conservation District does have a public hunting program. That program exists to support some of its management activities, and it does offer the public a part of recreational opportunity that a lot of people have enjoyed as part of their heritage. Thank you.
Mike Scala, District 5. I'm a gun supporter, and I think the things that you're bringing up have to deal with zoning again. And through the zoning process, you create safety regulations so that the people that are bearing arms are doing it in a safe manner. And through the zoning process, you can achieve that. But again, I think this is America. We should have a right to bear arms, and we have a right to use those arms in a safe manner.
Michael Snyder, District 6. Our Bill of Rights, the reason we have the right to bear arms was originally conceived to protect us from the government.
Didn't.
You know that? So I'm in favor of our freedom to do that. And if we outlaw that, the good people, the citizens who made the laws, won't have weapons. And the other people will. It's so absurd to me. Like we want to outlaw certain kinds of guns, or certain kind of bullets. Haven't we already outlawed murder? How's that going? So I'm in favor of concealed carry.
Rachel Schuster, District 6. I am a supporter of the Second Amendment and right to carry. And as far as the shooting, target practice and whatnot on your properties, I think common sense has to set in. But again, coming back to the county, we get the brunt of it where when one neighbor decides to create a problem for the next door neighbor, it can be an issue, a very sticky issue. I think that you should have a right to do target practicing on your property if you're not sitting in the middle of a subdivision where you have adequate area to do that. But other than that, I really believe the people responsible, gun owners, would go to target facilities that provide this service. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane Evertson, District 6. I am a gun owner. I am a member of the McHenry County Right to Carry. I am with the women's group of McHenry County Right to Carry as well. I think every woman in Illinois who chooses to carry should be allowed to do so. Obviously, we're looking at common sense here. The National Rifle Association has safety classes for beginners. They have them for marksmen, shooters. Gun Owners of America also has classes. We cannot legislate common sense, folks, but we can offer courses for people who are learners. I am definitely a proponent of right to carry, and I think, you know, maybe soon Illinois will come into the 21st century.
What are your thoughts on township government? Starting with Rachel Smith.
Township government. A friend of mine, when the blizzard happened, lives out by where I do, and he's completely against the township. But then he realized he would have had no one to pave the road in front of his house if it wasn't for the township. So I believe they're good and they're bad. I believe though their services are sometimes duplicated. So I would be in favor of examining them. There was, I think it was House Bill 1926, I think. They were trying to put a committee together to examine this issue of the townships duplicating services, and unfortunately, it never went anywhere and it fell through. But the government is on the right track as far as looking into the duplication of township services. Thank you.
Rockland District 6 again. I think where services are duplicated, obviously, it needs to be looked at. Out by us in District 6, where you have a very small municipality and in large unincorporated areas, and with the issues that I've explained earlier about the McHenry County Division of Transportation, I cannot imagine the roads in that area not being handled by the township. So I think there's probably some issues where there are some duplication. I think that all needs to be looked at, but at the same time, we definitely, there is a service that is provided locally, the more local level that is usually better than the larger government.
McHenry, District 5. As far as townships go, I believe that townships in our county, it's kind of half and half. It seems like there's some townships that are really great and other townships that just aren't as good. And it just depends on what district you're, what township you're in. As far as duplicating the services, yes, that definitely always has to be looked at. It doesn't even matter where it is in government. Duplicating services, you have to look at that. So I believe at one point the county board, a few years back, actually looked into this and kind of came up with it. It wasn't in the best interest of taking the townships away. I think we just kind of have to, as far as I'm concerned, have to relook at that and see where we're at with that as far as what we need to do or not do with the townships. Thank you.
David Weaver, District 6. Township government, township highway services in particular are essential in District 6. It's largely a rural district, and I just can't imagine getting a snowplow past my road without the township highway department. There is potential for duplication of services, particularly in the eastern portion of the county, where so much of the land is within municipal boundaries, and that is an area that probably does need some scrutiny. Thank you.
Mike Scala, District 5. I live in Grafton Township. I'm sure y'all heard about that. You know, townships provide a service, and that service, you know, is usually to a lot of people that can't afford some of the things that are going on in life, and so that they provide a needed service. But again, we're taxpayers and we're voters here. You know, township government is an elected official. If they're not spending the money wisely and they can be spending it better, then vote them out of office if they're not doing that, or run for yourself and run for office. They have an annual meeting every year where the taxpayers can come in and try and dictate to the people that are elected how to run the township. Again, perfect opportunity to take advantage and direct the people that are elected on how to spend the money that they're collecting from you.
Michael Standard, District 6. Townships were formed to build the roads originally. That's where they came from. And I like the idea of being able to call Don Goad and let him know there's a pothole. And I like the idea of having government close like that. Further, I'm not keen on throwing red meat to the McHenry County Department of Transportation if they were to take that over. I just don't think that's a good idea. What I do think could be altered about the township is I think the social service aspect of what they do should be covered by people who are highly qualified, and they should stick to fixing the roads. Thank you.
Having served 16 years as township supervisor, I can tell you that the origins of township government was to help neighbors helping neighbors, and that's what propelled township government into the equation. Very grassroots. That annual town meeting is critical. It is the only level of government that allows the public to come in and actually communicate with and dictate to their board. And yes, you can throw the bombs out if you don't like what they're doing. Are there duplications of services? Not really. There's some. The majority of the problem is created down in the more urban areas where you do have the municipalities taking over. But when they try to, I think, and it's up to that community to decide whether or not they want to eliminate township government or not, but leave the rest of us alone. Thank you.
Diane Everson, District 6. I am married to a township supervisor, and we have to differentiate between what works on the eastern end of the county and what works in District 6. In District 6, we are still very much a neighbors, helping neighbors kind of community. This past fall, I had the opportunity to spend 3 days at the behest of a District 6 township helping senior citizens fill out tax appeal forms. We have had opportunities to help people who need food, need water during our fabulous 5 days this past summer when we had no power. I think the farther you take government away from the people, the worse it gets. Witness Washington, D.C. You've got your car stuck out in a ditch, call Washington, see how fast they'll come and help you.
Well, since we're technically competing against each other, I wish Diane would say something that I disagree with. I agree with her on this again. I am a small government guy, so you would think that means let's reduce levels of government, get rid of the townships. However, being the small government guy, local control is always best. It certainly is a different world for us out in District 6 compared to those east of us. Townships have gotten a bad reputation because of those who take advantage. When you have township supervisors making $50,000+ a year for part-time work, it's important work, but it's part-time work, just like the county board. I think that leads to a lot of problems. But for the reasons that people mentioned, the roads, the local control over general aid, do I want, if I can't personally help my neighbor who needs help paying their electric bill, I will if I can. But if I can't do it, I'd rather the taxpayers of our community decide how much they should get instead of the state or federal government. So I think townships do serve a vital purpose.
Are you in favor of relocating people from Chicago to McHenry County with federal affordable housing vouchers? Starting with Corey Brockman.
Corey Brockman, District 6. No, I would like to see Chicago, Cook County take care of their affordable housing issues. I would like to see McHenry County take care of their affordable housing issues. And, I think we each have our own issues, and I don't think we necessarily want to add any more than what we have now. So that would be one. Thank you.
Mike Ring, District 5. I don't know how to expand more on that, what Corey said. I basically think exactly what he said. Basically, Cook County needs to basically figure out and take care of their own. And McHenry County, they need to figure out and take care of their own too. So, thank you.
In District 6, I really don't see how relocation of individuals receiving federal housing grants is really going to solve the problem for them. There are issues that obviously need to be dealt with. We have our own issues in McHenry County. There are issues in every county in the state of Illinois. Relocating people has never proven to work and solve an inherent problem. So I think everyone needs to look at their own community and do the best they can for the people within that community. Thank you.
I don't have anything new to add. I agree with what this said already.
Michael Standard, District 6. I think this is a racial issue, actually. And the city of Chicago and Cook County has to deal with what's been created there. It's not something that should be foisted on McHenry County, and so I would not be in favor of that much.
First Schuster, District 6, I would totally disagree with that philosophy. And it's a problem that we have had for a long time, and we're going to continue to have unless the public stands up and starts talking about it and doing something about it. We try at the county level, I shouldn't say we try at the county level, the majority of county board members just don't have a clue that this is what's going on. And with our part in the new housing department that the county has put into place, all this stuff is tying together and creating something that I think the public needs to be involved in. So get active, start learning about it and helping us.
Diane Everton, District 6. I think one of the issues we're facing here is we have some board members who believe that grant money from the federal government comes without strings attached. I have not yet seen a dime come out of DC that doesn't end up costing us more than what we get. The price we pay long-term for importing poverty into McHenry County is really tantamount to more taxes, more taxes, more taxes. And again, every time the county begins a new program, we're assured that one or two people in that department are going to be all we need. Watch the growth. Every time there's a new program, there's a new cost. Every time there's a new cost, you pay the price. Every time there's a new department, it gets larger. Government grows exponentially when it's allowed to do that. So as far as importing low-income people from Chicago, I think we do better to take care of our own and let Cook County take care of theirs.
Sean Green, District 6. Two words that should never go together are federal and housing. What does the federal government have to do? What business do they have with placing people? I have no problem with people getting out of Chicago, getting out of Cook County to come live in McHenry County. That's what I did. I'd rather see people do it the way I did it. Quick background information on my personal story. My father died when I was 4 years old, very unexpectedly. No insurance. My mom had to scramble. She did what she could. She did great, but we didn't have much. I grew up in a trailer park just outside of the south side of Chicago. I worked hard. I stayed out of trouble. I got educated. I got a good job. I got out of that mess, and I came here to McHenry County. I'm a productive citizen of McHenry County. I'm not a burden to you all. And I think when we start policing people, that leads to the burden that I've seen personally. I work in Cook County, but it's a suburb. It's a very large suburb of Chicago. We saw that happen 10 years ago. They closed some housing homes in Chicago. We got some of those residents, and we had to deal with years of gangbangers and drug dealers in a beautiful suburb. We don't need that out here.
Wow, I think I'm the only one that has a difference of opinion here. I would be in favor of housing vouchers on a limited basis. I believe the environment creates people, and I am who I am today because I grew up in McHenry County. My mother was a single parent. She worked 2 jobs. She was not home. I was responsible for myself, and I consider myself very lucky. I think our community is strong, and I believe it could handle a small influx of housing development. Thank you.
We will now do the 2-minute closing statements, starting with Michael Standard and moving in the opposite direction.
I spent quite a bit of time preparing remarks that are inadequate, as it turns out. I grew up in public housing. I'm self-made. Mike Huckabee said, Governor of Arkansas said, we need a few more people in government that sign the front of the check as distinct from the back of the check. I know how to run a business. I know how to make a payroll. I've been in business since 1978. I'm for small government. I'm 66 years old. I'm at the point in my life where I have some success in my professional life. I'm married to a great woman. I've got 3 grown daughters. She has 2 grown sons. And I've been all over the world. I'm interested in almost everything. And more than that, I have the time and the energy and the interest to devote either 2 or 4 years of the rest of my life, depending on what the lottery goes, if I'm lucky enough to be selected to represent District 6. So, and thank you very much for you all coming, because you are people who pay attention. Thank you.
Mike Scala. First, I'd like to thank everyone for coming this evening. Hopefully, through this forum, you were able to get a little insight into who I am, and if I'm lucky enough to be part of the county board, what type of person I would be on the county board. You may not have agreed with all the answers that I gave you. You may have agreed with some of them, but I'm one person that will always tell you exactly what I'm feeling. I'm not a person that's gonna try and, as the phrase goes, BS you to just because I want to get your vote. I'm gonna tell you how I feel, and if you like it, that's fine. If you don't, then I'm more than willing to have a discussion with you to hear how you feel. I think that's one of the things that has made me successful as far as on the school board, is listening to other people and listening to different viewpoints. My viewpoint may not always be correct. I may not have all the information that you have, and perhaps by a good, healthy discussion, I might change my viewpoint. So I again like to thank you, and I hope I at least was able to earn your vote this evening. Thank you.
Well, for the last time this evening, I'm David with District 6. It's been a pleasure participate in this forum this evening, and thank the County Government Republicans for offering me that opportunity. There's great diversity here within McHenry County, diversity of people, diversity of landscape, and there's much to accomplish if all of us are willing to work together. Working together means listening to each other, trying to sort through all the things that come at us every day, and to try and come to decisions that benefit everyone within this county. We can't agree with everything that everyone says, but we can certainly see what is in the interest of the majority of the people. And if we do that, we will continue to have a very good community within which to live. Thank you.
I think you know my name. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I really appreciate the people that showed up today. It shows your concern of what the county is going through. I feel that I'm good for the county board because I think I'm fiscally responsible, especially going through two businesses, one with the family construction business and my own business now. I have integrity, and I also have leadership skills. And I think that with that, I can help lead the county to a better future. I'm a fixer. I basically see something, I fix it. I see something that's going to happen down the road, I want to fix it before it happens. My dad basically taught me, do it once, and you'll never have to worry about it because it won't come back. I think people that, the taxpayers right now want to be treated fairly. And I feel that they don't, I guess they don't feel that their money is being treated fairly and what's happening. Because I don't feel that way. That's why I'm running for county board. I want to make the county board effective, efficient in what it's doing. And that's why I'm running for county board. And I hope to see you guys in the near future. Thank you.
Corey Crockett, District 6. As a McHenry County businessman and family-owned business here in town, or here in the county, I've faced many of the obstacles and issues that our small businesses are dealing with right now. I believe strong business-minded leadership is what is needed in McHenry County. You do it on a smaller level on a business, a small family business, much larger scale on a county level, but basically using the same sort of principles. I would just appreciate the opportunity to help McHenry County grow responsibly and be fiscally responsible. Thank you.
Well, this is it. Rachel Smith, County Board, District 6. I hope to bring energy, a lot of energy. I have full-time availability. My children will be in school full-time. So I will have plenty of time to work out issues that I may or may not know about. I think the time is now for change across the board. I know that's sort of a generic term, but people are angry and they're ready to see things happen. And as a candidate, Newt Gingrich said, you don't have to be cheap on everything all of the time. You just have to have goals. And my goals are to focus on transportation, transparency, and connecting with the public. I think I am in touch with being on a budget. My husband works full-time and I stay at home. I understand what that's like. So I ask for your vote to continue to learn on March 20th. Thank you. Rachel Smith.
Green District 6. The three things that I continually remind myself of as far as any public service are accountability, leadership, and as far as accountability goes, I understand that I report to you. If I'm fortunate enough to be elected, you all are my boss. The organizational chart should end at the taxpayers of a municipality, not the county chairman or the sheriff or the administrator. It's the taxpayers. I understand that and I hold that dear. Leadership, I have a proven track record of leadership. I was on the school district board, complete newcomer. Within a year, I was elected to be the vice president. A year later, I was elected to be president. I served as president for 3 years. I have natural leadership abilities. And that's important because we all have a lot of similarities here with the things that we want to do and the things that we want to change in the county board. But you need to be more than a squeaky wheel. You have to know how to get things done. You have to have the leadership abilities to get those things done, and I believe I do. The final thing is transparency. There's nothing more vital than that. Without that, everything else is lost. We need to be open and honest with the taxpayers of the county. I will ensure that happens at all times. Finally, this is a primary election, and I believe it's important to keep that in mind. I think most of you, I would imagine, are affiliated with the Republican Party. In District 6, this is a very unique year coming up because we have legitimate candidates on the Democrat side in November that we're going to be facing. We need 4 people on the Republican side that can hand them a resounding defeat. I will be one of those people. When I ran for the school district twice, I was the top vote getter both times because I say what I mean what I say. Even if people disagree with me, they know that they can count on me to do what I believe is right, not what I believe is the most politically expedient. Thank you.
Diane Everton, District 6, still the same. As I mentioned before, I travel all over this country. I have chosen to live in District 6. My husband and I have a nice little home between Woodstock and Harvard, out in the country. We enjoy having the kids growing up and gone, paying their own bills. It's very refreshing. We are both very big advocates on responsibility. We don't feel that government is here to take care of you for all things. Most of our constituents on the west side of the county understand neighborliness, they understand responsibility, and we're pretty much all on the same page. I think if there's anything I would like you to know about me as a final word is what my husband generally says is, don't forget to tell him you're nobody's sit down and shut up girl. So when you talk about the squeaky wheel on the board, you will find me probably there. I am not one of the people who is afraid to tell them what I think they're doing wrong, and we have in fact made inroads because of it. Thank you very much. I appreciate your vote.
Go back over here before we leave this thing. Ursula Schuster, District 6. As I listen to everyone, we all have McHenry County as in our hearts, and we'd like to see things pretty much stay the same, but we can't stagnate either. But one of the things that I do bring to this board, and I have over the years, is that I'm nobody's go along to get along girl either. I don't, the good old boys don't like me, and I take pride in that. I've lost my seat twice because of it, once over landfills, once over the Title X issue. And I will continue to fight for what I believe is critical for this county. I'm a fiscal conservative to the point that I get some kind of a joke on the board sometimes, but I love that. It's done in we all kind of commits with each other. Thanks to a group in the county, we initiated a transparency disclosure ordinance Took a long time to get it through and convince the rest of the board members that it was the thing to do to be able to have our elected officials tell the public how their investments and things and how they will be acting in their votes. My goal is to see that this county shrinks, and I have offered suggestions. I don't just sit there and say no for no reason. I bring ideas, and I think that's probably the most important thing that we can do as candidates and officials, and hope that we can convince our colleagues to listen. And I've been doing that, and I would like the opportunity to serve one more term to be able to go ahead and finish that part, because we do have to reduce the size of McHenry County, the government. Thank you so much, everyone, and to the young Republicans advocacy.
All right, I'd like to thank all of you for coming tonight. Taking time out of your Saturday night to be here. I know you guys are all committed, that you'll be the ones who will be out voting in March. You understand the importance of the primaries. Our job now is, now that we know the views of the candidates, we know why they're worth supporting. We need to get out and talk to our neighbors. The turnouts in the primaries, as you all know, are horrible. And then people complain about the choices that they get in November. So we need to make sure that we're supporting all the candidates who share our views and just working to try and get our neighbors to get out and vote. Couple last things. Next Saturday, we're having a debate or a forum for the 52nd District state rep candidates. Please turn in your email cards. In the back of the question card, you spot your email. So we can keep you informed about future events. And we will have a video of tonight available online sometime in the next few days. If you want to go back and do that, we'll send that out in an email. Also, if you want to get any more information about the candidates or and also the ones that weren't here tonight, the MCGOP website has a lot of good contact information. And so I believe that's it. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, candidates, for coming. Thank you.